Good morning, dear students. This is Dr.Radhika, your course teacher. This session is intended to give you an introduction to tourism industry. Travel and tourism is an important economic activity in most countries around the world. It provides direct economic impact to the host country and has got significant indirect and induced impacts. And it is very clear from the reports of WTTC, that is World Travel and Tourism Council. According to this report, 3.2% of the world's GDP is actually contributed by travel and tourism in the year 2018. And every year it is showing an increasing and upward trend. When we consider the tourism industry in India, it is also showing an increasing trend, and the government is promoting tourism as an important economic activity. But this is an industry which is influenced by a number of factors. When we consider the present status of tourism in this world, in this COVID-19 pandemic situation, it is actually in a standstill situation. All movements are restricted, and worldwide tourism is showing a negative trend. But we hope that these situations will change and we will come back to normal. And we all really love to participate in travel. Now let's have a look at the concept of tourism. Tourism in its modern form is not the same as travels of early periods. In earlier times, travel was considered as very difficult. In the language of Jews, the word Torah means study or search, and the word tour seems to have been originated from it. And it is also believed that it has been originated from the Latin word tornos. Tornos was a kind of round wheel like tool, hinting the idea of travel circuit or a package tour. And it also believes that it has been originated from Sanskrit. There are three words like Paryadan, Deshadan, and Tirthadan, and these three words describes different forms of travel. Like Paryadan means leaving one's residence to travel for the sake of rest and for seeking knowledge. Deshadan means traveling for economic benefits, and Tirthadan is a third equivalent word which means traveling for religious purpose. All the three words convey the meaning and concept of tourism in a better way. It is also believed that the word travel is derived from the French word travail, which means hardship. And thus we believe that the word tourism was originated from Latin word tornos or from the French word travail. Now let's have a look at the definition of tourism. And it is there are a number of definitions are given by different scholars. And here I am discussing the most important definitions. And one of the important definition is given by the Swiss professors Hansifer and Kraft in 1942. Tourism is the sum of phenomena and relationship arising from the travel and stay of non-residents insofar as they do not lead to permanent residence and are not connected with any remunerated or earning activity. And tourism definition is also given by WTO, that is World Tourism Organizations, which is also known as UNWTO, United Nations World Tourism Organization. And according to UNWTO, it is the activities of persons traveling to and staying in places outside their usual environment for not more than one consecutive year for leisure, business, and other purposes. And there are two conditions, like the travel does not result in the establishment of permanent residence and are not connected with any remunerated activity. That means for a travel activity to be considered as tourism, these two conditions have to be met. So these are the two important definitions. You can study any one of the definition. Then let's understand the word visitor, tourist, and excursionist. So these are the two terms used in the travel and tourism industry. And in 1963, United Nations Conference on International Travel and Tourism held in Rome defined the term visitor for statistical purpose. as any person visiting a country other than in which he has usual place of residence for any reasons other than following an occupation remunerated from within the country visited. So this definition covers tourist and excursionist. Tourist means the temporary visitors staying at least 24 hours in the country visited, and the purpose of whose journey can be classified either as leisure, business, family, mission, meeting, etc. And for a person to be considered as excursionist, these are the temporary visitors staying less than 24 hours in the country visited, and it also includes travelers on cruises. So, from this, it is clear that all tourists are visitors, but all visitors are not tourists. For a person to be considered as tourist, he has to stay there in a particular destination for at least 24 hours, and the purpose of the journey can be for leisure or for business, family, mission, meeting, etc. For statistical purpose, the word tourist is actually divided into two, like the foreign tourist and the domestic tourist. And the tourism is an important economic activity for a country, and the foreign tourist actually contributes more to the foreign exchange earnings. So when we consider the definition of government of India, definition given by government of India for foreign tourist, a foreign tourist is a person visiting India on a foreign passport, staying at least 24 hours in India, and the purpose of whose journey can be classified under one of the following headings like leisure. Leisure include recreation, holiday, health, study, religion, or sports activity, and business, family, mission, or meeting. And according to this definition, the following categories are not regarded as foreign tourists in India. And these include the persons arriving with or without a contract of work to take up an occupation or engage in any business in the country, or persons coming to establish a residence in the country, or the same day visitors, that is, a excursionist, temporary visitors staying less than 24 hours in the country visited. And also the definition taken by Indian Tourism Department also excludes the following categories of travelers in the data on foreign tourism, like nationals of Nepal entering India through land routes along Indo-Nepal border, all foreigners entering India from Bhutan by land, and also children aged less than 3 years. So these are excluded from the category of foreign tourists. So this is the definition given by Government of India, the Tourism Department. And according to Government of India, the domestic tourist is a person who travels within the country to a place other than his usual place of residence and stays at hotels or other accommodation establishments run on commercial basis for a duration of not less than 24 hours or one night, and for not more than 12 months at a time for any of the following purposes like pleasure, pilgrimage, religious and social functions, business conferences and meetings, and study and health. The following are not regarded as domestic tourists according to this definition. The persons arriving with or without a contract to take up an occupation or engage in activities remunerated from within the state or center, persons coming to establish more or less permanent residence in the state or center, persons visiting their hometowns or native places on leave or a short visit for meeting relations and friends and attending social and religious functions, etc., and staying in their own homes or with relatives or and friends and not using any sightseeing facilities, and also foreigners resident in India. So this is the definition for domestic tourist. And now you should understand two terms like leisure and recreation. Most of the times these two words are interchangeably used, but you should have a clear understanding about leisure and recreation. Leisure means it is a free time for it is a time free from obligations, work and task, and it can be also considered as the free time or residual time. And when we consider the recreation is an activity that people engage in during their leisure or free time. So it is the activity done for enjoyment when one is not working. So there is a slight difference, difference in meaning between the words leisure and recreation. So leisure is the free time available, and recreation is the activity for enjoyment, and which is usually done during their leisure time or free time. And for statistical purpose, the tourism is divided into two types, like international and domestic tourism. And for a country, the most of the foreign exchange earnings are earned from the international tourism. So now let's have a look at the international and domestic tourism. International tourism is the movement of people from one country to another for a period not less than 24 hours and not more than 1 year. So this travel involves crossing of borders, and it also requires travel documents like passport, visa, etc. And when we consider international tourism, there are two forms coming under international tourism, and these are the inbound and outbound tourism. Inbound tourism refers to tourists entering a country. That is, if a foreigner arrives in India for visiting various places, then he can be termed as an inbound tourist in relation to Indians. In the phenomena arising out of a visit by a foreigner in our country can be termed as inbound tourism, whereas outbound tourist refers to a tourist leaving their country of origin to other country. So for economic consideration, the inbound tourism actually brings a lot of foreign exchange earnings to the country, and when we are promoting the outbound tourism, it is actually the tourists are actually moving from our country to other countries, so our money is actually spent in other countries. So the countries are usually promoting this inbound tourism rather than outbound tourism, because the inbound tourism brings a lot of money to the country, and outbound tourism actually our money are spent in other countries. So next is domestic tourism. Domestic tourism means it is a movement of people from one place to another within the border of their country for a period not less than 24 hours and not more than 1 year. It does not require the crossing of national boundaries, and it is also described as internal tourism. And according to WTO, 90% of the world tourist movements are domestic. The domestic tourism is also very important, because the domestic tourism and in domestic tourism the money is actually circulating within the economy rather than moving out of the economy. So this is also very important in economic point of view. And we'll come to the end of the section, and I think you should be able to understand the terms like the tourism, the different types of tourism like international tourism and domestic tourism, and the words like leisure and recreation, and also the domestic tourist and foreign tourist. Thank you. Stay connected.